Welcome, everyone. This is Introduction to Psychology 1. So this is the more biological side of Intro to Psychology, and the topics include neuroanatomy and other aspects of the biological basis of psychological processes. Anything that happens in your head, anything that you do, anything that you think has some biological side to it. Something's happening in your nervous system or your endocrine system. And we'll talk about the more biological topics in psychology, like learning, motivation, sensation, perception, cognition, memory, and language. And the last chapter is emotion and motivation. So my name is Tanya Billsbury, and I'm here in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I teach at St. Mary's University, and I am a substitute teacher. So this class has been taught by another instructor in the past, and she went on leave, and so they had to find somebody to teach the class quite suddenly at the 11th hour, and that's me. And I'm really excited about this opportunity. It's a chance to work for a different institution. I've been so impressed with Mount Allison. So I've been scrambling to prepare this. Usually instructors like to have some time, maybe a couple of months to prepare a course, but it was it happened at the 11th hour, and so I'm reading the textbook for the first time too, and I'm learning how to use Teams. This is my first time ever teaching on Teams. I've never used Moodle before, and I'm also working remotely, so I'm figuring out Mount Allison and its systems and who's who and what's what. And I'm also using a course that has been designed by another instructor. So I took her syllabus from last year and revised it a little bit, generally stuck to what she designed, because restructuring a course or structuring a course for the first time is a big undertaking, and I didn't have the room to do that. So I will be going with her course timetable and her exam structure. I've actually never taught a course with exams before. I've always used weekly quizzes. So this is new to me too, and I'm also figuring it out. On Moodle, which I hope you will find access, I hope you all have access to that. Let me know if you don't. You will find a copy of the syllabus. It's about 3 pages long. Please read it. It has information there and answers to a lot of frequently asked questions. And I see a question. Does it distract me if you have your video on? Not at all, but I want to talk about recording, because if you have your video on, then you'll be on the recording, which will be just read it. And you may or may not like that. Like, some people are really comfortable with a high level of exposure. They're called extroverts, and some people are less comfortable with that. And I want you to be within your comfort. So the textbook is Psychology from Inquiry to Understanding by Lilienfeld, Lynn, Namey, Kramer, and Schmaltz. And it's the book that's used for the other side of Intro Psych. So Intro Psych split into 2 classes. And so maybe you've already taken the other course, maybe you're still going to take it, maybe you won't take it at all, but that's the textbook. And you can find it at the bookstore. You can find a used copy, so it's okay to use a used copy for this course, because I'm not doing that thing with the course access code. There's been a few questions now about is there a sort of a course access code for Ravel? And the answer to that is no. I removed that from the course because it creates a financial barrier and also more work for me. So there's kind of 2 ways you can get the textbook. If you're, let's say, so the fastest way to get the textbook is to get the ebook. And there's some nice things about having an ebook, because you can use Control F. I'm the kind of person that really likes to use highlighters and write all over a textbook. So I don't use the ebook. I got a paper copy. And so if you buy, but if you get the ebook, just the sort of simple version, that is $50. And then there's an upsell. Okay? There's always an upsell. and that's $80 for the Revell version. And I understand that that has various bells and whistles and extra features and quizzes and things. And in the last version of this course, students got credit for taking those quizzes for every chapter. And you can, if that would help you, you can do that. I've seen, I'm not familiar with Pearson. This is the first time using a Pearson textbook, and every publisher has their own little platform, and the publisher of the book always, the rep instruct them to getting the students to get the more expensive version. And there's some features you might like sometimes there's what they call adaptive learning assignments, where it coaches you on the material. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you think that would help you, then it's another $30 for that, but you're not required to do it. All right, so lectures, as you know, because you're here, are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9:30 to 10:20. I usually try to be in the room about 15 minutes early, so there's a little time there where you could chat or ask questions. Our first class, as you know, is January 9th, and our last class will be April 10th. And it's on Teams, my first time teaching on Teams. It's a little different from Zoom. I feel like, oh, what's going on? I will post the PowerPoint decks on Moodle, and it's a good way to take notes, because I don't think it's the best use of your time to try to copy down a slide. It's actually not possible for your brain to focus on many things at once. So your brain can notice things unconsciously, but your conscious awareness can be focused on one thing at a time. So you can read a PowerPoint slide, you can write notes, you can listen to me, but you can't do all three things at once. A lot of students think they can, or they're supposed to do all three things at once, and that if they can't do all those three things at once, then they might have some disorder. I'm sure there's a lot of people that will sell you on that story, but in fact, it's not intentionally possible. So I use recordings in all my classes, even my in-person classes, because a normal human attention span is about 20 minutes. And those studies are based on people who aren't doing anything really cognitively difficult. But imagine a lecture that's information dense, where it's a fire hose of information and there's all this jargon. It would make a lot of sense to me if you actually couldn't listen for 20 minutes, if your attention span was about 10 minutes. And then your brain wants to take a little break, right? Because it's just tired. And maybe you're going to start thinking about lunch or something that happened. Like your mind will wander. And then you'll have to make a conscious decision at some point to bring it back. Maybe that's after 5 minutes. For some of you, maybe that's 10 minutes, but you'll miss a little bit, right? And so I love recordings, because then if you do miss something, you can go back and listen to that. So I'll post the PowerPoint decks before class. So this PowerPoint deck is posted, and so is the one for chapter 1. And my aim with this course is to stay a week ahead of you guys. So you can download those PowerPoint decks, and a nice way to print them is in this format, where it gives you a little room on the other side of the page to take notes. And you can print those off, or you also have access to a program called OneNote, because with your Mount Allison account, you should have access to some Microsoft Office tools. You have Microsoft Word and OneNote. So I think that's a more efficient way to take notes. I am recording the lectures. I'm going to change the way they're being recorded. I didn't realize that this was set up to auto record as soon as you come in the room, but I want you guys to feel able to chat before class and not have that recorded. So I'm going to turn off that preset, and what I'll do is I'll start recording at 9:30, and then I aim to have those posted to Moodle within 48 hours, hopefully faster. So let's talk about recording and your privacy, because I want to respect that, and I want you to feel comfortable with the level of exposure. My aim is from what I've seen of another instructor's recording, so Danielle showed me her lecture videos, your names show up. So I can see these little bubbles with your initials and your name underneath. And so if your camera's off, that definitely tells me that, you know, maybe you want to stay private. And I'm going to figure out how to put a blur over that so that people don't see your names, because it has your name under that. But if your camera is on, then you would be recorded. I could blur that too if you guys want. But if you speak during class, like if you're very welcome to like raise your hand and ask a question. I'm not sure how I'd notice you raising your hand because I'm used to Zoom, but that is something you should be able to do. And I don't, you know, I welcome you to do that. But if you did that, there's no way I can blur your voice, right? So then you would be on a recording. And so if you feel comfortable having your voice recorded and distributed, then you're welcome to do that. But some folks might not be comfortable with that. In that case, you can, so at the end of the lecture, I'll ask, you know, are there any further questions that will be on the record? And then after that, I'll state they'll stop the recording, and you should get a sign, like it should tell you that the recording is stopped, and you can ask your question then. And of course, you're also welcome to email me. So let's talk about assessment. I understand that if you want to go forward in psychology, then you need to get a minimum of grade of C-, which starts at 60%. There are 2 midterms and a final exam. It just says 2 midterms there. It looks like I'm missing the bullet that says that there's a final worth 45%. You can see it on the snip from the syllabus. The 2 midterms are worth 25% each. One of them is scheduled for February 8th and the other one's for March 17th, and they're during class time. Now, some of you are going to want to reschedule that, and that's because some folks have accommodations and another, say, a back-to-back class. So let's say that you have accommodations for time and a half on your exams and you have back-to-back classes. Well, then you need to ask for a reschedule. And some students are going to have another midterm the same day. And for February the 8th, other classes that are having midterms are Physics 1551 and Math 1251. And on March 17th, other classes that are on that have midterms are Biology 1501 and Psych 1011. All the exams are open book. That means that you can look at your book. You can use Control F on your ebook. You can look at your notes, but it doesn't mean that anything goes. Your answers have to be your own. Don't do Google searches. I don't think you'll have time for that, really. Like if you go into an online test unprepared and thinking that, you know, you could search everything there isn't really enough time to do well. So you can't communicate with anyone else, right? Like, don't do it with a friend. You can talk to me during the exam. Do not share the questions because those questions are someone's intellectual property. They're the intellectual property of the previous instructor, or the ones that I will write would be mine. And then if any came from the publisher, there'd be Pearson's. So don't share those questions or your answers to them with anyone else, or use anyone else's answers, or perform or refer to web searches. So those would all be academic integrity issues. The biggest issue with cheating is that, let's say that you get a grade in a class and you don't really have the skills or the knowledge, then going forward, that wouldn't do you any good, and it wouldn't do the recipients of your services once you get your degree any good. So that's why it's important that you leave the class with the knowledge and skills. There's something called the Science Start program, and it sounds really exciting. And I will enroll this class in the program as soon as I can. That hasn't happened yet. So there's instructions for you on Moodle on how to sign up for this. But as of this moment, it won't work because it hasn't, it's still not up and running, but I will let you know as soon as it is. But anyway, it's called the Science Transition and Readiness Training Program. And it's a program that helps first-year students get the skills that they need to succeed. And it also connects you to a lot of resources. So It's for 6 weeks, and you meet weekly in small groups with a peer mentor, and you learn about things like time management and stress management, how to balance your academics and your extracurricular activities, and what kind of resources are available to your campus. And I found the 2022 version of it online and looked through it, and I thought it looked like a good program. So if you enroll in that, and if you complete 5 out of the 6 modules, sorry, my phone's being noisy. I'm gonna hide it under my bed here. Oh, message from Esther saying, I thought START was only for the first term. Interesting. I'm new to Mount Allison, and Mitch LaPointe told me about the program and encouraged me to sign my class up for it. So that's a really good question, Esther. And, I'm assuming that it's available because that's what I heard from Mitch, but, what if you're right? So it sounds like this is something that I need to look into. If it is available, if I can enroll in it, then if you did 5 out of 6 of the sessions, you'd get an extra 5% on your midterm. And that would be 5% absolute, not 5% relative. I won't take 5% of your grade and then add that. I would add just 5% absolute. All right, I'm seeing a lot of messages in the chat, and I'm going to stop to read that. Chloe did it last winter, and last year I see a message saying that last year it was both terms. I don't know, Kaya, there's a question saying if you did it last term, if you do it again, well, you know what? If you can do it again, Kaya, then I would say, and if you think that would benefit you, then I'd say, yeah, why not? I want you to have those skills, and maybe you can learn something, get something new from it the second time around, right? If it could benefit you, then absolutely. Okay, great. So I'm seeing, I'm just reading a message from another student saying that they were encouraged to enroll during orientation this semester. So this is sounding positive. Sounds like it might be available. I hope it is, but I emailed Mitch over the weekend saying, I'm following these instructions and I can't sign up for the course. And he wrote back to me saying that I should be seeing an email soon about enrolling the course. So I'm hoping that we can do that. Oh, okay. So if you're only allowed to do it once, then I can't do that. Research credits are also part of, oh, sorry, I just saw another chat. I'm not used to seeing chats while teaching, but a student said that some instructors said that they can do it both semesters. I need to be in compliance with whatever the university says. So if there's some big overarching policy from the university that says students can only take this once, then I have to go along with that. But if there is no such policy, then I would be pleased for you to take it again. And I believe that you learn something different when you do something again. It's like when you watch a movie for the first time, you take something away, watch it from the second time, you take something away. So I don't think that it would be a waste. And if it's allowed, then absolutely. All right, so your exams account for 95% of your final grade. And the last 5% is research credits. So students and professors at Mount Allison perform studies, and they need some people to participate in those studies to get the data. And so you can be a participant in research, and half an hour of participation in the study counts for 0.5%. And so I think that works out to 10 studies for 5% of your grade. But I don't have any control over the number or the type of the studies that are available. And imagine if there just weren't that many available. Well, in that case, or let's say that you just don't want to participate, you don't agree with it, you looked at the informed consent form and thought, hell no, well, then it's also okay to opt out. And so you can write a review of a journal article for 1% of your final grade, and to get the 5%, you need to do 5 of those. And there's instructions in the syllabus for how to do that. So that's to encourage you to learn about psychological research. Now I'm going to look at the chat again, and I see a suggestion that there's 2 START programs, one for art and sciences. And yes, this course falls into the science one. And from what I've seen of the 2022 version of START, when you enroll in the course, you have to pick, you pick a course that it's associated with to get the 5% on your midterm. There is a course timetable on, I think it's page 3 of the syllabus. And this is based on last year's syllabus from a different instructor, but I have to start somewhere. And so I'm going to be following this schedule, especially where this is my first time teaching this course. And so chapter 1 will start on Wednesday, and then I have 3 lectures to cover that. I've already put together the slide deck, 60 slides, so I know that I'm going to cover about 20 slides lecture, and then we'll start chapter 2 on Wednesday. And your first midterm will be on chapters 1 and 2. All right, so some students have health conditions or disability, and you can arrange accommodations through what I think looks like it's pronounced the Megan Center. Let me know if I pronunciation. And you have to do that for each course for each semester. I would talk more about this in a course that was more about the social side of psychology, but there are many ways that the medical model of mental illness and disability can be problematic or stigmatized, and I don't always love it. And so if if you have needs that sort of go a bit beyond or outside what the medical model offers, I also know that it can be really hard to get. You have to get appointments and letters, and at least in Nova Scotia, the system can be very slow. So reach out to me if there's any issues with that. So there's a few things to do on my to-do list. The Moodle is not completely set up. Like if you look at the gradebook now, it's the setup from last year, and I've changed the setup. So I need to work with, I think it's Lisa here at Mount Allison to get that set up correctly. So please don't get confused when you look at the gradebook. I have to enroll the class with the SMART program. I'm hoping that's possible. And I might be getting a teaching assistant. I'm not sure at this case. I'm still kind of figuring things out. So are there any questions or comments that would be on record? And I'm gonna count to 5. What is the site for Moodle? Are you new to Mount Allison as well? Did you take any classes in September? Because it would be the same one. But I think the website that I go to is, I think it's Moodle. I'm typing it in the chat, moodle.mta.ca. You're new for the winter term. Okay, so all your classes will have what's called a Moodle associated with it. I'm used to using something called Brightspace, so it's my first time with Moodle. Now I see a question from Shelby. Do I go by doctor or professor, and what are my pronouns? If I had my druthers, I prefer the gender neutral pronouns. So I lean into preferring sort of the they, the them, or the ze, or the he. I don't use she, her pronouns at my other institution because of the culture and the way women are treated there, but I'm actually having a really, really good experience at Mount Allison. Like I'm so impressed with the culture, and I've treated in a way that's really respectful that I actually feel like I'd be okay with people calling me she. What else? Oh, do I go by doctor, professor? I'm Quaker, and we don't use titles because that sort of indicates status differences, and I try to avoid those. So I don't see myself as I don't really want to I have a different role and responsibility from you, but if you were to call me doctor or professor or by some title, and if I were to call you by your first name, that's a bit of a power move, right? It sort of shows it demonstrates some kind of difference in power and status, and I don't like that. So calling me by my first name is just fine. Absolutely. I'm seeing about 3 questions at once, and I need a moment to read them. So I want you to feel comfortable. I don't really like being called professor. I don't correct students if they do. I kind of look the other way. Yes, I'm okay with time. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so this is different institutions have different cultures, and I'm used to students being on a first name basis with me, but maybe Mount Allison is different. Maybe Mount Allison students use titles. I don't know. I'm new here. You're very welcome. All right, so for next class, we'll start with chapter 1. So please start reading chapter 1. It's on scientific thinking. And now I'm going to stop the recording. And some of you folks might feel more free participating. So stop recording.